Today I'm going to be talking about seeding tables with the data build tool known as DBT. Let's talk about some background on DBT. It's an open source project that helps engineers transform existing data in their warehouse. It does not extract data from source systems and load it into your warehouse. It's just there to transform. The framework is written in Python and has two types of files. There's SQL scripts and/or YAML files. The real power comes from the fact that adapters have been written for many target database management systems. We need to have a sample database. I went and used AI to generate some tables. The books table, the loans, and members table are all part of the library schema, and we have 3 sample CSV files. Today's agenda. We're going to learn how to deploy an Azure SQL database and create both a login and user that has access to the database. We're also going to learn how to configure Visual Studio Code for DBT. Last but not least, we're going to initialize a DBT project, copy those CSV files into the project, and use those CSV files to seed tables. Because I do not have much time, I've written most of the steps down for you to review at a later time when you play around with this project. This Create Azure SQL Database has the code to actually create the database. The first step is to create the library database from master. Next thing is to create a new logon. I'm using service count 02. Then change your location to the library database and create a user for logon, and then give the logon DB owner access, because we're going to be creating tables, views, and many different other objects in the database. How do we configure Visual Studio? Well, the second text file tells us what we need to do. We need to download Visual Studio code. Then we need to install Python 3.7 or higher. If you want to check it into a repo, we want Git installed. For configurations, we need to enable the DBT extension from the extensions library, and then we need to open up a project directory. Last but not least, we need to pip install dbcore, which is the core Python library for DBT, as well as the adapter DBT SQL Server. To initialize the project, we need to do db init library. Then we need to follow the prompts, and it'll create a profiles.yaml file. This file tells it how to connect to SQL Server, or in our case, Azure SQL Database. Last but not least, to test the changes to the profile, we type dbt debug. All transactions that are done by the framework show up in the log file. Last but not least, how do we seed table data? We first need to copy the files over to the seed folder. Then once the files are there, we need to execute dbt seed from the terminal window. This will try to load every single CSV file in the seeds folder. Another way to be selective about it is to type dbt seed space select and the file name that we want to load. Open folder and change it to the libraries directory. And there we go. Now we're in the libraries directory. Go to seeds, right click, hit paste. Okay, so there's our 3 files. And now we can go back to Visual Studio Code, right? And if we go into seeds, we can see them. And we click it, there's our data, okay? How do we check the project? The project is right here. It's saying that the profile is library. After we go ahead and copy over the profiles, right, we want to set it up so that it points to SQL Server, our correct, namely Azure SQL Database server name. The database we're connecting to is username and password. Okay? We're going to tell it append raw to it, so it's going to be data.raw. Okay, so if we look at it right now, nothing in there, and what we can do is to test that everything works correctly. We do dbt and then debug, and it did test correctly. And if we go into the log file, we can read whatever it does. Seed just one table, or we can seed them all. Okay, so if we type seed books, okay, it's going to create just the books table, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at it, and we should see it. Okay, that's done. And if we take a look and we hit refresh, we have only one book. Thank you for attending this short video. Please see my upcoming articles on SQL Server Central for more information.